Alright, what is up, guys? Sorry, I'm a little tardy. I was having an impromptu St. Patrick's Day date with my husband, and unfortunately, it was pretty busy with where we're at, and I apologize for the delay and the tardy. But I'm going to be going live with Uncle Alan. We're going to be talking about kind of like some training rantings, and then also answer some of your guys' questions and by giving you some answers. So he is in the queue now. I'm going to enjoy. Hopefully, it doesn't make us do too much of a sing-song dance. Hey,
Hey,
there we go. How
there
are
we
you?
go. How are you? Hi, I'm
Good.
doing. Yes, I've got a bendy phone. My phone's bending.
Oh, do you really? So you have like it like how does that work? Like can you actually like text the entire screen or is it kind of like
Wait, can you what?
can you like text the entire screen or like where it folds does it like not work?
No, it still works. Yeah. Thanks, technology.
Dude, that would like fuck me up so much mentally to like know that my phone folds. I always feel like I'm breaking it.
No, so let me tell you, anybody out there that wants to film your workouts, if you want the cheat code, buy a Motorola Razr, a Motorola 40 quart square. Send my checks there. Um, but yeah, no, this is my third one. I've only broke one of them, and it was very miraculous breaking. I like set it on my bathroom counter as I was getting in the shower one day. Somehow I knocked it off, and there's these two little whoop parts, like the little metal whoop parts.
Yeah.
It fell on one of those, like right in the center of the screen. And I was like, Mother F, this would be
Oh,
my luck.
that's bad luck, man.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's
And this
crazy.
one, the newest one, it's hot pink, like the old razors.
My favorite color.
Me too.
Anything you want to rant on about training before we dive into some Q's and A's?
Everybody needs to train harder. Me and you too. All of us train
Train harder
harder, train
by
smarter.
training smarter. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I feel like a big thing is like in the beginning, it's like when you focus on like your form is like there's like a level to it, like layers of cake, if you will. It's like you need to make sure you have the right form and execution because if that is not where it needs to be, then we can't ask our muscles to hold a certain amount of load to progress,
Amen.
right? And so then it's like if you're training super hard and intense by like taking a bicep curl and making it a full body movement, it's like, okay, well, our bicep isn't being challenged in the way that it needs to in order to have productive growth. And so it's like there are definitely there are layers to the shit player. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like people really like to gravitate toward dogmas and that fueled their biases on what grows muscle because their favorite professionals grew this way, so therefore this is the way. When in reality, there's a blend of hypertrophy when we're talking about in a bodybuilding aspect that creates what we're asking of the body. But if you don't have a firm foundation, then like you're throwing a bunch of like rest pause sets on it just to like make up for lack of training. It's like we're missing the point.
Yeah, it's like you gotta really find that direction, find what form you need to drill down on, what's going to benefit you the most. Like if you're doing a full body curl, like if you're, using everything, do you want to use everything or do you want big ass biceps?
hmm Absolutely. It actually kind of answers one of our questions of what grows muscle better, form or intensity. Because I know we have the time under tension crowd where they're doing a movement and it's like, 12 seconds for one goddamn rep. And they're like, oh, my muscles are going to get huge. And it's like,
Used to be
dog.
me. Used to be me.
Dude, same, right? It was like everything was so painfully slow where like you almost get exasperated because you run out of time because like I said, a set that should take, depending upon the rep range, 1 to 2 minutes, maybe, takes like fucking 10. It's almost like an imam set. And but you're just not being productive. You're just like wasting time. And so it's like it's not which one grows better. It's the balance and blend of two, right?
Mhm.
It's because you have the right form, then you are intense versus being intense but not having form or just being so focused on form, you're no longer being intense. It's like the combination I think is so valuable.
So let me ask you this. If you had to rank those, like, would you go 50-50 intensity form? How would you rate that?
How I look and analyze my training videos before I send them to Austin, or how I analyze my clients' training videos, is first up, I look at the setup, right? I see how you're setting up the exercise, especially with the free weight movement, because then I'm thinking about like toe pressure, for example, and seeing where
Yeah,
your balance
fingers.
is. Yeah, exactly. So where you're at in space. And then from there, it's I look at how you start the set and how you end it, and how much form breakdown happens because of your proximity to failure, i.e., your intensity, right? And then also, I look at your emotion. Are
Hmm.
you in physical pain? Are you displaying passion? No, I'm
I
serious. Like, are you displaying
the other
passion?
day.
Yeah, it's like, are you displaying passion within your set? Because, like, it's something where as you get to that proximity of failure, when we are accruing the muscle damage and like effective reps, if you will, if you look from start to finish, that was not a hard
That's
set. I'm sorry. Like,
tough.
to go back to the drawing board there, but it's to me a blend and a trade-off of if you are truly pushing yourself in the way that you need to actually get those again effective reps. It's like I should be seeing some level of breakdown in your form. It's not going to be perfect from A to B, but really what I'm looking for is the slowness of that concentric phase,
Yep. Like
and
being
with
in it.
coupled yeah with coupled the face, like something where you're exhibiting pain and emotion. That is what I'm looking for, namely in those sets. What about
So
yourself?
I mean, I'm pretty well the same. Kind of like you said, if you're just like straight face at the end of the set, like what have you done?
Hmm.
Like, have you really exerted that effort? It's only like only once you get that pain and that angry face, like have you really set that standard higher, you know?
Hmm.
And of course, progressive overload is always that's always the key to furthering your training or going, you know, to the next step, if you will. Um, what am I getting at here? Yeah, that's all I
No,
got for you there, I
I
guess.
get what you're saying. Like, there is a level of art and finesse to training. It's like literally, it is a skill. It's not something where it's like it's something that always like talk about a rant. Something that I used to do that pisses me off when I see it. When people are like, "Oh, gym is my therapy," and I just zone out. No, if you're a fucking athlete, you better be locked the fuck in. You better not be zoning out for shit. Like you zone out while watching The Bachelor in Paradise. You know what I'm saying? Don't zone out with your training. Like, and that's something that I did. I was like, oh, it's my therapy. I'm just gonna zone out, listen to my tunes, and you know what? I had a physique that showed that I zoned out and didn't lock in. Like, that is something that is so important, that you have care and passion and pride in what you do when you're in the gym, so you're effective and you're essentially making progress toward your goal. And this doesn't just hold true of physique athletes and bodybuilding. This holds true in lifestyle and gen pop too. Like holding yourself to a higher standard, and again caring about what you do and how you do it, not just like doing it to check off the box, because I feel like that gets tossed around too when it comes to training. Just go, just gotta check off my box. It's like, okay, but how did you do it? Because like with care or being careless has very different results.
Amen. Yep. Lots of injury risks, stuff like that for sure too.
Exactly. Going into another question, which I feel like can lead to its own little rant, is muscle
Yeah.
confusion a myth, or is it like, beneficial?
Oh, man, so I was actually prepared for this. I thought that this was going to be the first one, so I figured you'd get a laugh over this. But when we go in the gym, do you want to confuse your muscle or do you want to grow it? Like that's pretty straightforward. And I don't mean that to like come off shitty towards whoever asked that. More power to you if that's like what somebody's passed on to you. Like, hey, you've got to grow or you got to confuse your muscle to grow.
Mhm.
Eh, yes and no. I
Yep.
mean, it does require a stimulus. It doesn't require confusion.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something where it's a big buzzword, where it's like a lot of people
Like
can
time.
capital right. It's like a lot of people can actually capitalize off of general confusion. because they'll be like, "Oh, you're confused, so let's confuse your muscles because that's the secret. That's why you're not growing. That's why you're not seeing progress in the gym." So it is something where preying off of general confusion and inconsistencies across the fitness world. But when I was in my muscle confusion era, because let's be honest, I was going to school for exercise physiology, right? Which is super embarrassing anyway to think about the fact that I didn't even know how to program, even though that's essentially what I went to school for. And it is something where it is exhausting to come up with a new workout every fucking time you set foot in the gym. Like, I got to the point where I almost didn't want to train because I felt the need to come up with something brand new for a back and a bicep day. Like, it was like, how many fucking exercises can I pick? And to the point where, like, it just wasn't enjoyable. So, because I wasn't enjoying it, talk about not being intense and going through the motions. Like, oh my God, I didn't even want to train because I just was so overwhelmed by trying to confuse myself because I was so confused that it just took the joy out of it. And so when it comes to bodybuilding and going off the fact that lifting is a skill, you need to understand that with a skill comes a certain point of repetition. Mastering and understanding what a muscle contraction feels like for a given body group that you want to bring up when it comes to the muscle, right? And that requires, again, repetition and skill. The first 6 weeks of any training program, the strength gains that you're experiencing are purely neurological for the most part, just getting that, like, quote unquote mind muscle connection. It's the 6 weeks and beyond where you're really adding like good hard progress and growth through more weights or more reps or maybe just better connection as you become more immersed in your training. That's where we start to see like the hypertrophy benefits of a training program anyway. And so the idea of having to constantly confuse your muscles, like, all you're doing, the gains that you see in the logbook are purely neurological at that point, not actual hypertrophy at the muscle contractile elements. And so I think that's really important to understand. It's not that, in terms of enjoyment, like, maybe I'll program like variations for lifestyle just because, like, they're not as maybe hardcore or intense as bodybuilders, but having like hardcore staples, but then like fluidity in like a smaller muscle group, like a bicep or a calf variation. Like, if you need some level of enjoyment just so you don't like off yourself because you're so bored, like, okay, there needs to be a give and take, but the idea of like confusing the muscle, I no longer subscribe to.
Right. It's kind of funny because the more that I think about my more modern training versus, 10 plus years ago, um, it's almost full circle the opposite. Like, I had a guy ask me the other day, he was just like, "Hey man, so like what kind of bicep curl should I do?" And I'm like, "Any of them?" Like, well, what do you like? What do you connect with? Like, what have you been doing? Are you progressing on what you've been doing? He's like, "Oh, I kind of like the way you answered that." I'm like, "Yeah, it's always unorthodox with me."
It's perspective is super powerful. And I know there are some people that get really caught up in training semantics and they literally get so fixated on like resistance curves and like lengthened versus partials or lengthened versus like the short range. Like, they get like so caught up that they don't go to the fucking gym because they're so worried about creating like the most perfect ideal workout that's going to be like the best split to grow a certain body part, that it's so overwhelming that, again, they don't even fucking go to the gym. And so it's like, when you're a beginner, it's like, make the most from the least. Like, if you need to start with a 3-day full body split, dog, push that until you don't notice the benefits anymore. Then go to a 4-day split. But like, if you're a total beginner, like, you don't need to be going 6 days a week.
No,
Like
absolutely
that's gonna be,
not.
yeah, that's gonna be such I don't even want to go. I don't, and I won't go to the gym 6 days a week for resistance training like I did once upon a time when I trained like almost like a open bodybuilder, where I trained like literally every single day just to be in the gym because, like, one, I thought that was going to be the best to grow, and two, if I'm being totally honest, I was trying to run away from up here because I didn't want to deal with like my mental problems. I just wanted to escape and zone out in the gym.
I've been there before. They're actually like there is legit. Now, when I say this, there's been a couple ownership changes since the gym that I'm currently at was like the Firm Family Fitness is what it was called. And like whenever I came into this town and started going there, I started meeting all these people, right? And I guess what I'm getting at full circle, there were days I would literally spend 8+ hours at the gym. I mean, I might be working out for 2+ of those, but I mean, I'm just hanging out,
Yep.
and which I got to know everybody, and now I know a lot of people. But like, should I have been doing that? Responsibilities weren't there at that time. Not as many. Not as
Right.
many, at least.
No, I think that's really important, which is also like actually I feel like a great segue into like how long between rests, like between sets, should you rest? Because like a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym. And then it's like, okay, well, what are you doing at the gym when it comes to maximizing your efficiency? And a lot of that like lag time or wait time
Sometimes
when it
just talking,
comes
whatnot.
exactly. So it's like, are you talking? Are you on your phone? Like, are you trying to figure out like what song do you want to pop up next on your Spotify? Like, how are you again being intentional with your time at the gym? Because like again, from experience, I used to be one of those where I didn't like the idea of rest because I viewed rest as inefficient.
Right.
So I would be like, I'd hit a set and then do like fucking burpees, right? Because I was like, oh, metabolic like I was just, bleh. But
I gotta
even then,
keep
it's
moving.
like,
I gotta keep this progress train rolling.
right, exactly. Got to give you that fat burn zone. You know what I'm saying? But like when it
Yeah.
comes to resting, you are resting to make sure that your next set is just as fucking effective as your first set,
Mhm.
right? So it's not something you want to rush, but it's also not something where we're like not like a power lifter where we need like 10 minutes to recharge to make sure that our next like, double or triple is just as effective because again, it's different goals. But I feel like a good general rule of thumb is if you're someone that likes to wear a heart rate monitor or a watch, like wait for your heart rate to come down to like whatever a baseline is in between your sets. I don't like things on my wrists and I don't use a chest strap other than using cardio. So what I do is I will just time it, and if it's like a big lift, like a multi joint compound movement, a leg press, a squat, a deadlift, I'll give myself 3 to 4 minutes to just like gather my breathing, make sure my noggin's on straight. Because sometimes you're like, you hit a set and you're like, God damn, what year is it? But something for a rear delt raise or a lateral raise. Oh my God, I'm not going to need 4 minutes to recover from a small muscle group. Like, I'm usually pretty primed 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, but even then, it's like you don't need to wait so long where you're like literally wasting time. But also keep in mind, I say that as a female, and females are notoriously better at recovering than males are when it comes to both in the gym and outside of the gym. So, Alan, I'm sure you might have a different answer compared to how I answered.
Sure. So with my top sets, so I'll break this down into both top and rest sets. That was another question I had for you. Do you have any differences, like, or I say rest sets, your like workup sets? Do you have any change in your rest times?
Mm, Not necessarily. So I do have like one or two movements that are a little, and when I say heavy, I mean like 8 to 12 rep ranges, but some of my stuff is like a little bit higher. Like Austin likes to program metabolic work for me because of the fact that I do have a higher frequency on my legs, which again is important to take into consideration with
Yeah.
general program recommendations.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with like for example, one of my hip thrusts is like a heavier thing. So if I hit like my third to final like work upset, I might give myself instead of like 3 minutes, fourth, like just one extra minute, and that's normally to make sure that I'm mentally ready to go
Okay.
versus like actually needed it at the level of my glutes because at some point it's like mentally you might start to psych yourself out. So this is like one final minute that I might be like, okay, it's time to make sure you're locked in and ready to go because like this is do or die because you get one chance, one fucking top set to make this count.
Wring
So
that towel out.
exactly. So it's like, do I need it physiologically? Probably not. But do I need it mentally? Hell yeah.
Mhm. You gotta get like in that breathing pattern, like your breathing and heart rate brought down. Like, and another little secret of Al. I put on stuff like Carly Rae Jepsen, like the Call Me Maybe album,
Just to
particularly.
like get
So,
through it.
uh, so like on the very top set, just to chill me the fuck out. I'm just like, Oh, okay, I can listen to this poppy stuff. Yeah, I'll call you. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't get this rep. Shit. Ah.
Fuck.
Ah.
I
If
love
people
that.
hear
Do
whale noises in the
you
gym, they
know?
don't even. I mean, they're just like, this guy. He's just off in his own world. Leave him alone. Let him die.
Let him die. Let him live.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I feel like that's a great point about music selection because for me, I used to listen to a bunch of like almost like bikini posing music where it's a bunch of like higher pep pop stuff like Sean Paul, like higher beats per minute shit. And I found myself unintentionally like rushing through the set.
Yep.
And
Yes.
I actually switched that mentality where I will purposely listen to more steady rhythm drums in the terms of Disney music. So I love Lion King. I'm big into not just like, oh, I can't wait to be King soundtrack. Like no, like the background music that you don't really notice
Mhm.
until it's not there.
Like the
But it's
elevator music kind of stuff.
exactly. So the idea of it like being really toned to drums or slow rhythmic stuff so I can kind of match the tempo and my breathing and it helps me to slow down and be present versus before because I was like doing Sean Paul, listening to Beyonce, like getting after it. It's like I noticed the quality wasn't where I would ideally like it. Now, did it matter as much? Who the fuck knows? But again, I'm falling back to the idea of staying locked in. And a lot of the times, like your training music can absolutely influence your pace when you're in a set.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like, go do a heavy top set, listen to Pantera, and then go listen to Carly Rae Jepsen, and like let me know. Like, just film it, film both sets, and post them both, and tag me, and let me know which you did better on.
I agree. Yeah, dude, I tell you what now, my I remember like I get in phases where it's like I'll do like my screamo phase and like my like pop punk phases. And like not only does my gym attire reflect those phases, but definitely like my intensity too. And I do think it is just so important that like one, you enjoy your music. Because I know there are some people that are like, oh, I'll listen to classical music during a leg press. Dog. If I listen to fucking Mozart during a leg press,
Who
I
hurt?
don't even know if I started. Like that is just not my vibe. But if it works for them, fucking power to you. So you also need to know thyself, you know, when it comes to like what you will enjoy listening to and what you will want to push yourself to. Because again, like we want to make sure that we're lifting with care, but also lifting hard.
Yes, yes. I actually had a friend of mine. He came up, and I see this guy almost every day in the gym. I was like, "Hey, Chris, check this out." I turned around my phone. I was listening to George Strait. Of all things, I don't listen to country in the
Yeah.
gym. Don't do it. But I was listening to George Strait, and he's just like, "Who hurt you?" I'm like, "Nobody, man. Nobody. It's just all this up here, you know. It's my brain hurting
That's
me. It's telling me I'm small, so I got to get back at it."
That's so good. That I mean, like that reminds me. I mean, it's not really. This is not really a training thing, but like when I pose, like I know bikini poses to that Sean, like the sexy sway shit.
Mhm.
Listen, when I pose, just for me, myself, and I, when I practice posing, it is very much like I'm really bad with like music names and artists and stuff like that. That's not my gift, but it is slower, like country type of stuff where it is how I establish my flow.
That's
And
the
establishing your
very
flow
point.
is valuable in posing, but it also in training because again, like even if it's unintentional, it can either speed up or slow you down depending upon where it needs to be within an exercise.
Mhm. Yes, back to the rests. I don't know that I answered that fully. So I did want to say in my like workup
Mhm.
sets, I usually take anywhere from like 60 to 90 seconds. I know that's probably a little quick for most people, but that seems to work for me pretty decently. I'm not exhausting myself. I'm doing like 3, maybe 4 reps, just kind of get a feel for that weight, move up. And then on them top sets, anywhere between like 2.5 to 4 minutes roughly.
Mhm.
But I feel like that's a good sweet spot for me.
Yeah, and that's also good perspective because, like, obviously, if you're only doing 3 or 4 reps, you're not going to need 3 or 4 minutes between sets to work up to a weight. And for me, when it comes to establishing a connection, it really does depend upon the movement and the body part. So that's where it's like as an athlete, you need to be in tune with your training to see like what you need. Because like, I'll be honest, like when I am, let's say, 4 exercises deep and I already kind of hit my compounds, I'm already warmed up, I have a good establishment, like a good connection already established with glutes. That's all I fucking train. When it comes to a locked in machine like an abduction and abduction, dog, I don't need fucking 3 workup sets. I can likely hit my top set weight and just go to war and continue to move on with it. So it is really important to be in tune with your needs as an athlete when it comes to like establishing that connection, understanding like where you're at within your training program for that day. Because like if you continually take warm-up sets when you're already warmed and primed and ready to go, you could actually just be not only wasting time but also wasting resources and recoverability when it comes to your body's ability to perform at a high level for, again, I'm saying the word effective reps because not all reps are created equal. We want them to be effective, not just taxing.
Yep. Yep. And I look at that the same way. I always tell people like, hey, so if you go in the gym with 100% battery, if you're resting too long, you're still draining your battery a little bit. If you're doing too many warm-up sets, that's effort you could be putting in your top set. So try and, like we talked about with everything else, this just applies to life. Try and get the most out of the least. So like, let's try and warm up the least amount that we can to be perfectly warm, perfectly safe, and then get into that top movement.
I like that you said like resting too long can also kind of be like a drain because I don't think a lot of people realize, again, like I keep repeating very similar themes, but it should drive home the point of importance. When you are resting, you also have to understand that not only is like energy at the level of the muscle tissue when it comes to producing energy for your working muscles, but also another precious resource are your neurotransmitters at the level of the brain. That is not a finite resource. Like your brain can become depleted as much as, ATP and, creatine and all the things, like all the juicy stuff in your muscles as well. So it's like you don't want to just fuck off because, again, if you don't have enough neurotransmitters for your brain to want to stay within the set and to have that neural drive, then it's like we need to be effective through intention, not just like goofing off. Good
And,
point there.
so you mentioned that. I would say 90% of the people in my area, at least, they don't realize like neural connection to muscle. They just think, oh, my muscle's exhausted. And it's like, guys, there's a whole other side of this that you're not looking at. And it's like, why do we lift weights to become stronger? For neural adaptations. That's what makes us stronger, not necessarily just our muscle.
Absolutely. So kind of like I don't even want to say it's busting up bro science, but maybe it's expanding upon it. Maybe that's a better way to phrase that because it's not just about the muscles, it's about quite frankly the total body head to toe experience of what lifting weights and pushing yourself in the gym, kind of regardless of whether or not you're just a bodybuilder. It could be powerlifting, it could be even just gen pop training. Like it has total body adaptations given that you have effective programming and then even a more effective recovery.
Mhm.
Love that. Fun one. What's your favorite body part to train and why?
Ooh. Uh, can I pick two?
Sure.
Chest and back. Because I'm a bro.
So, do you actively compete? Like, do you have a division that you compete in or train for, or do you just like looking like a
More,
muscular beast?
like more training for bodybuilding. I had done men's physique like about 10 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a fan of how they posed. I didn't like the leg covering up. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I have legs. Like, why am I covering these up? They're
Alan's
not.
like,
They are not. Yeah, yeah. I'm doing like the dancer kick.
that's right. No, I like that. So, do you have a specific like exercise that you like to hit for your pecs?
Dude, that's a loaded one. Honestly, in the past couple of weeks, because the Smith machine was taken up, I was like, I'm gonna go bench on like regular flat bench. I'm gonna use this like extremely rough gnarl bar that I love. That's the only good bar in my gym, in my opinion. Um, but I set up on like the best flat bench there. I just had real good connection with that because I haven't barbell benched like flat bench in a long
Yeah,
time.
that's crazy.
But
feel like that's like all the fitness gurus are like, stop flat benching, like you're not growing your pecs.
Okay, whatever. I'm just going to be over here not growing my pecs. You can fuck off over there.
No, I love that because that also goes back to like, okay, even if your favorite fitness influencer or biomechanic guru is like, oh, flat bench is the worst way to grow your pecs. You know what's the worst way to grow your pecs?
Not
Is
worth
not fucking
it.
training your pecs. Like, not doing any pec work. So again, like, maybe it's not the most optimal, but clearly, like, it's optimal for Alan because he enjoys it. He gets a good connection. He's not gonna hurt himself doing it. So it's like, let him be fucking happy and let him still have big titties. I love that. What about back though? And when you say back, do you mean upper back? Do you mean lats, or just regardless posterior chain? You're all for it.
So, but bonus mention on the pecs, I will say slight incline flat press, so or slight incline press. So flat bench, just like a dumbbell, not dumbbell plate, a plate under
Mhm.
the like the head of it.
Yeah.
If and when. So when I get my micro gains, have you ever heard of micro gains?
No.
Are you familiar with
Tell
them?
me more.
Oh, so my gym does not have 85-pound dumbbells, 95-pound dumbbells, 115, 105. They don't have the 5 pounds. They've
Okay.
got 10 ups. So there's some these things I'm looking at investing in. I have one set of the smaller ones, so they can adjust in like 2.5 increments, and they clip around a dumbbell.
No way.
So
So I have something similar, but they don't clip. They're magnets. So I have, they're called plate mates, where they're 1.25 pound per little plate mate, and they come in a pair. So you can, I didn't know that was what they were called. I just always called them plate mates, and you just slap them on a dumbbell or even slap them on like a cable stack.
mhm,
And again, you have that 1.25 increment to where something small like delts for me, like 1.25 jump might be what I need, or maybe 2.5 pounds might be what I need because 5 pounds is way too much.
exactly. And that's both how I feel on the presses. And right now, we've been in a real big block of shoulders with me. I think I'm working shoulders like 4 out of 5 days of the week right now. So
Wow.
for me to have those like 1 point, or well, we'll say 2.5 pound jumps, because I would put like two of those 1.25s on.
Yeah.
So I could jump in 2.5 pounds. And then whenever I get the other set, I could use those things for pressing because they're 2.5 each. So put two of those on. I can adjust in fives. But back to the back, which I'll send you a picture of these after we get off here too, so you can check them out. Um, and if Microgains wants to float me some of those, feel free. Um, but back to the back, I would say mainly upper back. Love upper back stuff,
Mhm.
but pull-ups, the assisted pull-up machine. Oh my god, I love those. And actually, I had a gym goer talk to me the other day, and she was just like, well, you can do regular pull-ups. You don't need to do that thing. Like, you just need to do pull-ups to get stronger. And I'm like, well, that's kind of true, but kind of not. Like, I'm using this to accommodate for my weakness right now. So then eventually I can get up to those pull-ups. And she's like, but you can do a pull-up. And I'm like, I know I can do a pull-up, one, but I want to do many and I want to do them perfectly. So then
Right.
she's like, well, pull up for me. And I'm like, see, watch, I can do it, but like, I want to do this, for an extended set and with intention and with intensity. So I would say assisted pull-up machine, I'm a sucker for. And lately, mag grip rows, like a medium mag grip, like about hip width. I like a little. I've got one that's a little supination, so I like that little bit of supination in it. Just dragging that to like right there at your sternum. Oh my gosh, it's awesome.
I like that. I like that you also gave like an explanation for the pull up because, like, obviously, yeah, if you can do one is likely not effective because, yeah, it taxed you. But
Sure,
if you could do two, three, four, five, or six more with assistance, where you're able to hang within the set, that
you're
to me is, yeah,
just ringing that bell out some more.
exactly. So I like that. I think that's a good answer, and I love the fact that you're more of an upper back. It's not that lats are boring. It's not that at all. But I do like the answer of the upper back because I feel like that usually is not answered. Normally, it's like, oh, I like training chest or biceps, which there's nothing wrong with biceps by any means. But it's nice to know that you appreciate the upper back movement. Appreciate that. And then for myself, I mean, it's glutes. It's not that I enjoy training glutes, but I kind of have to because one, I compete in bikini, and two, it's like that's all I really train. So it's like I kind of have to gaslight myself into saying that I enjoy training glutes because I do it so fucking much. Where it's like, if I remind myself that it's just fine, that I would prefer delts, then it's like I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. So that's more of a joke, but it's probably glutes and delts because the bikini girl inside me.
Right on. So what's your favorite delt movement? And before you say cuff raises, is it cuff raises?
It is, but not just like standing. I like to be a dirty gym floor goblin, and I like to lie on the ground and like suffer a little bit, and like rub my nose in the dirt. So I like to do them on the ground, lying down.
So you always give me crap because I do them on a bench. I don't do them on the floor.
You're such a princess. You need that lumbar support.
Lumbar support.
All those upper back rows, dog, just to fucking use a bench during lateral raises.
I know, I know. No, it's let's be real. I just like to feel my back press into that pad. You know, like expand the pad and like squish it out. It makes me feel bigger and
It
shit.
makes you feel safe.
Yeah, I'm safer. I'm safer. And so
That's
in my defense, I don't know that I've tried it laying on the floor, but I will say it might be a wonky adjustment. It might be too low. It might be too high. I might have to just try it to see. But
I got you. I
I,
got you. The
I
reason
swear,
why I like it on the floor is because I can adjust. I call it a cable bot because it has like arms that move, so I can adjust the cable bot to where it's not like completely down at 90. It's like I don't fucking know, 85, 80 degrees, to where when I am able to like scrape my knuckles from like against the walls is the cue that I give to have that the dell connection. Like it's something where it doesn't pull on my pecs because my titties are not homegrown, they're fake. So it's like I don't want my pecs to become active. Where if I do it like your setup where I'm like lying on a bench completely at 90, I notice that my pecs want to kind of contribute. And again, going back to intention, one, I'm not trying to grow my pecs, and two, because of my implants, I don't want them to be overly active because it's fucking weird. It's not a bad feeling. Like it's not gonna cause my implant to burst, but it's not a feeling I enjoy. So it's like
not pleasant.
tincture. It's just it feels weird. I'll be honest, it just feels fucking weird. So it's like I just want to avoid any type of overcompensation. So you just gotta get creative and crafty.
So with yours, do you do those? So like you said, instead of like the straight 90, like right out to your sides, you do those a little bit more out in front. Is that what you're getting
A little
at?
bit. Yeah, so it's not completely like a cable Y raise where I'm coming up like this, and it's more kind of like an in between. So when I'm like raising up, lying down, it's not exactly out here. It's like I said, like 80-ish degrees if you want to be dorky about it. But again, I don't bring my fucking protractor to the gym
I was
because
gonna
like
say, let me go get my
well,
protractor.
like legit though, but there are some people that would, right? Because I know there are some people that get super into angles and making sure that everything is symmetrical. And there's that part of like my OCD brain that like I already hyperfixate on symmetry and perfection and balance way more than is healthy. So it's
Mhm.
like I need to rein myself back in because again, if I'm like so focused on like all of these numbers, I will lose myself in the sauce. And then like again, I'm not being a good athlete because I'm just like
And I'll
going
say,
insane.
so two things. So first and foremost, one cue that I like to use, like you said, to the, or what do you say, to the wall
Yeah,
with your lateral
I
raises?
imagine like scraping my knuckles against the ground or against the wall, but since again I'm lying down this way, so I'm not like scraping the ground. I imagine like again my knuckles scraping against the wall.
So let this one stick with you. Little John. To the window. To the what? To the wow.
That's right. Nope, that's it. That's it. I love it. Exactly. I feel like that's another good one where it's like, especially as coaches, like it's important to understand like the muscles and the proper anatomical body parts. Yes, you should have that knowledge. But what really sometimes grinds my gears, so here's a rant coming, is when they'll be like retract the shoulder, like retract the scapula. Think about like the fucking they talk about things that I'm like, okay, a general person off the street doesn't know what a fucking scapula is.
I don't know how to
They know what their shoulder
do
blades
that.
are. Yeah, exactly. Like who's it? It's like just speak normally.
Just the more that you can put it into like layman's terms, the easier shit gets. That's one thing that I'm really, I would say I pride myself on using a lot of analogies, both within training, within supplements, within everything. So if I can break it down where somebody can understand and be like, oh, okay, well, that's easy. Like cars, we use cars all the times for analogy. And people are like, oh, I know cars. Oh, okay, I understand how that works. It's like, okay, sweet.
What's crazy is like they don't know how cars work, but they understand car analogies. Like that's how good
I,
the car analogy is. It's like you can't you might not be able to know shit about fuck about cars, but you give a car analogy and you're like, I got it.
oh, that makes sense. Light bulb turns on. Like,
Car go brr.
yeah, car go vroom. You want
That's
to go vroom?
right.
Do this.
Dude, exactly, exactly. Did you get any questions on your end? I think that we answered all the ones that I sent over.
So I did not, unfortunately. I don't do great with the question stickers. I'm just like, man, I want to talk to you guys, but like nobody's clicking the
It
thingy. No.
it's honestly hard unless you do anonymous. Because I'll be honest, I stopped with the anonymous just because I found myself constantly wanting to check. And again, I was on my phone more than I was comfortable because it was just that hyperfixation on notifications. And so I stopped the anonymous Q&A because my thinking is I'm willing to be vulnerable and open and honest with people about like how I live my life and how I coach and do bodybuilding. The most that they could give to me is being authentic and being brave enough to just show me who they are so I can genuinely help them. And if they're not okay with that, I mean that's fine, that's on them, but like I want to help people, not shadows. And I viewed the not gonna lie link as like helping shadows, and that just didn't make me feel fulfilled.
So I've never put up one of the anonymous ones. Maybe I should try that. We'll see.
You, Mike, the I will say the pros of the not anonymity, being anonymous. There we go. We'll just use that word. The pros about being anonymous is one, you can ask questions that maybe you're embarrassed to ask, and two, the question box has like a lot more characters versus Instagram's platform can only handle so many characters. So if you have an in-depth question that you want to ask, you can't ask it within the question box. Then you have to like DM someone, but unless you are someone that's very open and honest and inviting, like even just DMing you might feel like really scary.
Mhm.
Just what I've noticed, but I mean, again, like it just kind of comes down to like your audience and who really wants to ask a question versus who's just
I feel like if or when I do the anonymous stuff, I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of trolls, but that'd be okay. I'll still answer the trolls. If you want to ask me a question as a troll, do it. I'll be like troll master.
no, I you definitely can. I mean, do you honestly think that a lot of trolls follow you though, or
So know, in my mind, now this might not be 100% accurate, but in my mind, I've got a lot of people that I'm like acquaintances with and
yeah,
that I like, but I feel like that they don't like me back, but follow me and shit. And it's weird, right? It's like that they don't have my best wishes in mind, I'll say. We'll put it that way to be light. But I'm just kind of like, why do you even follow me? Why do you pretend to be my friend if that's the case? Like, don't do that. Don't be fake. Like, either be friends with me or tell me to F off. Like, I can handle either one.
yeah, I feel like that's the kind of like the downfalls of social media is because it gives you like a window to someone's life. Like it's kind of like why some people are so obsessed with like shows where it shows like how celebrities live their life, even though there's a scripted element. There's like if you can like take a look at someone else's life and you can watch them fail and fall, then maybe you feel less for failing and falling yourself. And so while that's not like great, I do think it's really important to humanize your heroes because even the people that you look up to, like they are humans, they have their own failings and misgivings and grievances where it's like as someone that I pride myself on being pretty authentic and vulnerable on Instagram because like I want people to look up to me and respect me because I am human,
Mhm.
not waiting for me to like fall from grace. But again, like that's not how everyone wants to do their Instagram. Like some people want it to be private, some people want it to be personal. It really just depends on like the vibe that you want to give off. But I feel like if you are following someone just to like watch them fuck up, like that says a lot more about you than that person. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree there. And I mean, with me, like I genuinely want to see the best out of people. So
Yeah.
if I can help in any way, I try to. But what kills me is like the people that I'm referring to, those are the kind of people that are going to come and try and take advice from me. I'm going to tell them one thing, they're never going to try it, and then they're just going to be like, I'm going to do it on my own. I'm just like, okay, I mean, I'm here to help. Like, let me know how else I can help you. And they're just like, okay, come to ask another question, don't take the advice, and repeat. And I'm just like, what am I even here for?
Well, what they're wanting from you is a sense of importance because they want to talk about themselves and they just don't. It's not that they don't want your advice, it's they just want to feel important. And while that's like nice to have that conversation, the deeper issue isn't like their health and fitness, it's the fact that they're probably lonely and just want to have a human interaction, which is, it's completely relevant to this day and age of social media where especially post COVID, where everything is practically online and your ease of accessibility is insane. Whether you have an awesome iPhone or a dinky Motorola that folds, like
What? Way better than iPhones.
us entitled iPhone people, but like the fact that like we're so lonely is just like also really hard. So it's like they have the ease of access where they want to have a communication and conversation with you, but they're not willing to like listen. They just want to talk.
Right.
Kind of sad. And
Okay.
not really training related, but also real life.
So we'll circle back into the training. I don't know what had reminded me of this. We was talking earlier, and I got to thinking. We was talking about all the angles and people changing angles, and dilly dallying with this, that, and the other, and being nerds. I also pride myself, like, if anybody's watching this and you're in my gym, come and see me while I'm in the gym, and you're more than welcome to use any of the shit in my bag. Bands, I've got like the prime handles, I've got the short prime attachment, like the bar. I've got all kinds of shit in my training bag. I actually thought about labeling it like torture toys, like across the bag.
Your safe search not on.
Oh, oh man,
come visit Alan's Torture Toys, guys. Now open to the public.
torture toys is the safe word. I feel like that's
Jesus
a big
God.
safe word to get out.
Now I understand why your potatoes are skinned. I understand now.
Oh,
Good God Almighty.
oh Lord. Um, but I guess what I'm getting at is, so within the machinery that we have at my gym, it's decent, but we can make it work a lot better with my torture toys. So whether that be like, I've got a little half roller that I put on an incline bench to do my flies. That way I can kind of like open up scapula a little bit.
Yeah.
That seems to work well for me. So stuff like that, like just spicing up that normal little gym routine with little something. It doesn't need to be much.
No, I got you. That's actually a great, like, what's in your gym bag is like a lot more than just like the standard, like, oh, I got my intro and my logbook, like bare minimum, a logbook and an intro workout, even if it's just water and salt. You know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
a lot of the other things is like making like adjustments to maybe grip width when it comes to like those chunk, like the yellow chunk things for like the grip strength.
Like the
General
fat grip kind of
fat
things.
grips. Yes, thank you. Like the fat grips. Yeah, those are great. General wrist straps, whether they're Versa grips or lassos. I personally don't wear a training belt anymore, but there's some people that would benefit from that extra cushion when it comes to protecting, that low back. I
I would
have,
plug
yeah, exactly. I have
straight up.
cuffs. So like cuffs for like kickbacks or like cable work for my lagging lateral raises is great. Um, there are some people even to get like better, I would say maybe more dynamic like lat width when it comes to doing something like a cable pullover. They have something like daisy chains or like straps for like hammocks where it's like they're able to adjust like where their width are with their hands to kind of get that better like elbow movement where it's not like way out here. So like just being creative with your gym gear, but also again not overcomplicating it, especially if you're a beginner. Like I would not invest in these torture toys until like absolutely necessary because one, they can get fucking expensive, and two, it's like don't miss the forest for the trees, especially when like you could gain a lot from just simple dumbbell work.
Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple.
Exactly. Exactly. Any final thoughts or things that you want to touch on before we kind of conclude here?
Not that I can think of right off. I feel like we've covered quite a bit.
I say you. I feel like the pinnacle was the torture toys. That sent me. That was hilarious,
That was the
dog.
best part.
Oh my god, that was
I, mean,
awesome. Well,
I
dude,
pray.
thank you so much.
I pray that somebody picks me up and wants to come and use my torture toys. Like, hey,
Yeah,
show me how
that
to make
Alan.
it more painful.
I love it. I love it. You should sell that at Alan's Mart. Come look at my
Alan's
toy selection.
torture toy bag. Or oh, I have like a whole section. Build your torture bag.
I like it. It's like a little Halloween, like trick or treat.
Yeah, it's like Spirit Halloween, but more spirit, the bodybuilding spirit.
I love it. I love it. Dude, thank you so much for your time this evening. I really do appreciate it. And I
Yeah,
appreciate you being flexible and graceful with me hopping on a little bit later. Just for people listening either live or the replay, this will be uploaded to obviously my Instagram, and I will also invite Alan as a collaborator, so that way it's on his Instagram. And then also these lives are uploaded to my YouTube. So that way you guys are able to get Alan and his torture toys wherever you listen to your content
woo!
media. But woo! But dude, thank you so much for your time this evening. I appreciate it, and I know we'll continue to shoot the shit later on.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thanks.